3 days to go for New Year's Eve. Another year is ending. Another variant is spreading. Hotspots, lockdowns, travel restrictions, all of it is back. Omicron is shutting down the world again. New infections are breaking records. Today, the world recorded the highest number of positive cases in a day, the highest ever. 1.44 million people tested positive in the last 24 hours. 1.44 million. New infections have gone up by almost 50% in a month, and that's not even the most alarming statistic of the day. New infections in China are at a 21-month high. Beijing is reporting its worst outbreak since Wuhan. Where is the hotspot this time? The city of Xian. Last week, 13 million people of the city went into a lockdown. China says that in 1 month, more than 800 people have tested positive in Xian. I know that does not sound like a big figure. 800 cases in a city of 13 million. Doesn't sound so bad. But this is China we are talking about. They insist on a zero COVID policy. It's unachievable, but that doesn't really matter. If the Communist Party decides there will be no cases, there should be none. So 800 is one too many. What are officials doing? Mass testing. Not once or twice. The people of Xian have already undergone 4 rounds of mass testing, and now they'll be subjected to a 5th round. In fact, China's latest outbreak looks bigger than what authorities admit. A second city was locked down today. This is the city of Yan'an. In several parts of Yan'an, stay-at-home orders have been issued. Hundreds of thousands of people have been put under lockdown. China is panicking, and it's coming up with bizarre rules, once again making it harder for the rest of the world to fight the Wuhan virus. I'll give you one example. A Delta Airlines flight took off from Seattle for Shanghai. It had to turn back mid-air. Why? Because China suddenly changed the cleaning rules for aircraft. The specifics are not clear yet, but Delta says the new rules would have needed an extended ground time, meaning the aircraft would have had to stay longer at the Shanghai airport. Delta says these new rules are not operationally viable for them. So they turned the plane back. China has slammed this American airline for this. But remember, this incident comes at a time when airlines are already struggling. As many as 11,500 flights have been cancelled since Friday, 24th of December, 11,500. The reason is the growing number of infections, and with that, the growing number of restrictions. In almost every part of the world, curbs are being reimposed. France, Germany and Greece are restricting public gatherings. India's capital city of New Delhi is on yellow alert, which means schools will be shut. Public transport, restaurants and bars will run at 50% capacity, and other restrictions will come into effect. Across the world, public spaces have been closed, and Malaysia has banned mass celebrations on New Year's Eve. Omicron, first identified in South Africa, has now spread to 119 countries. How many cases so far? More than 250,000. The US, Europe and the UK are the worst affected. 42 people have died of Omicron infection so far. What about India? The numbers are growing every day. As of today, the figure stands at 578. 578 Omicron infections in India. Thankfully, no death. In fact, 151 Omicron patients have recovered already, we are told. So far, most of the Omicron cases are mild, but that does not mean this variant is not dangerous. Look at what's happening in the US. It is now one of the biggest Omicron hotspots. The US is running out of everything: testing kits, hospital beds, health workers, and now nursing home staff. There's a shortage of everything in America, and these shortages are getting worse by the day. New infections have exploded in California. In 2 weeks, cases have jumped by 73%. More than 4,000 patients ended up in hospital. So while infections may be relatively mild, more people are testing positive, which means hospitals are overwhelmed. Last Thursday, COVID hospitalizations in the US crossed the 71,000 mark. Some cities are already running out of hospital beds and ICUs. The Biden administration was clearly not prepared for this.
It's clearly not enough. If we'd known, we would have gone harder, quicker if we could have. Because steps we have to take to increase the number of authorized tests, we're now able to purchase 500 million at-home rapid tests to be sent to the American people for free when they request it. And we're going to continue to use the Defense Production Act to produce as many tests as possible. And starting in 2 weeks, private insurance will reimburse you for the cost of at-home tests. We're providing access to free tests for folks who don't have insurance. But we have to do more. We have to do better.
We have to do better, he says. Well, we do. But it may be late already. Omicron has done the damage. Economists are lowering growth forecasts for 2022. They say new restrictions will curtail global activity. The Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, the OECD, has issued a warning. It says Omicron is quote-unquote a threat to the global economy. It's terrible the way this is playing out. The world has been fighting this pandemic for 2 years now. Countries have ramped up health infrastructure. There is increased surveillance of new variants, improved testing and tracing, plus we have vaccines, and yet a variant is making us go through the same old ordeals. The economic loss will follow. The question is, who will compensate for this loss? South Africa, for one, is blaming the West, more specifically the United Kingdom. A government spokesperson has said that British travel bans caused South Africa severe economic loss and that the UK government should pay these damages. Well, it may not happen. But the frustration is understandable. For how long can we keep going like this? Whenever we have a surge, governments resort to reimposing restrictions. Is there no other way to fight this virus? For now, the world seems stuck in an endless loop of lockdowns, restrictions, and unnecessary panic. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.